Millionaire abandons. Pregnant fiancée, 20 years later, discovers the truth that changes everything. Fast forward. 20 years, the millionaire receives an unexpected letter that stirs his curiosity and emotions. The letter, from someone he never imagined hearing from, reveals a truth that shakes his world. It contains details that could change everything he thought he knew about his past. Compelled by this revelation, he embarks on a journey of rediscovery.
The ballroom of the Plaza Hotel sparkled with the opulence characteristic of New York high society. Crystals sparkled in the chandeliers, reflecting golden light onto the elegantly dressed guests. At the center of it all, Tyler Grant, heir to one of the city's greatest fortunes, smiled nervously as he greeted the guests at his engagement dinner. Tyler, with his piercing blue eyes and perfectly combed brown hair, was the picture of success at the age of 28. His tailored Italian suit hid the tension running through his body. He looked at the platinum watch on his wrist, a gift from his father, feeling the weight of family expectations. "Son, where's your fiancée?" asked Evelyn Grant, his mother, with a forced smile on her red-painted lips. "She should be here any minute, Mom," Tyler replied, trying to keep his composure. But internally, he wondered the same thing. Janelle was never late. As if summoned by his thoughts, the ballroom doors opened. Janelle Smith walked in, radiant in an emerald green dress that highlighted her dark skin. Her brown eyes shone with a mixture of excitement and fear. Tyler felt his heart racing. Something was wrong. Janelle walked towards him, ignoring the curious glances of the guests. "Tyler, we need to talk," she whispered, her voice trembling slightly. He led her to a more private corner of the room, away from the attentive ears of New York's elite. "What's wrong, Jan?" Janelle took a deep breath, gathering her courage. "I'm pregnant, Tyler." The world seemed to stop. Tyler felt as if the ground had disappeared beneath his feet. Pregnant. The word echoed in his mind, bringing with it a whirlwind of emotions: fear, surprise, and a twinge of joy that he quickly stifled. "Are you sure?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Janelle nodded, tears forming in her eyes. "I took the test 3 times. I know we didn't plan this, but—" Tyler interrupted her, panic growing in his chest. "We can't have this baby, Jan. Not now. My career is just beginning. We have so many plans." Janelle's face hardened, vulnerability giving way to determination. "This is our son, Tyler. Our baby." But Tyler was no longer listening. His mind raced, imagining the headlines, the disapproving looks from his parents, the missed opportunities. He wasn't ready to be a father. He couldn't be a father. "I need some air," he muttered, pulling away from Janelle. Tyler hurried across the room, ignoring his mother's calls and the confused stares of the guests. He stepped out into the cold New York night, the chilly fall air burning his lungs. Standing on the sidewalk, Tyler looked up at the dark sky, the stars obscured by the city lights. He had it all planned out: the perfect wedding, the successful career, the life his parents had always expected of him. And now, it was all falling apart. At that moment, Tyler Grant made a decision that would change the course of many lives. An impulsive choice, born of fear and insecurity. He wouldn't go back to the salon. He would not face Janelle, his parents, or the reality of his situation. As he hailed a cab, Tyler tried to convince himself that he was doing the right thing, that Janelle would understand, that one day when he was ready, he would come back and fix everything. The cab left, taking Tyler far away from the Plaza Hotel, from Janelle and from the future he had just abandoned. In the lounge, Janelle waited, unaware that her life was about to change forever. As the evening progressed, Tyler's absence became more and more apparent. The guests began to leave, casting pitying glances at Janelle. She stood alone in the middle of the now almost empty hall, one hand resting protectively on her belly. "He's not coming back, is he?" she asked softly to no one in particular. Evelyn Grant approached, her face a mask of barely disguised disapproval. "Honey, Maybe you should go home. I'm sure Tyler will be in touch when you're ready. Janelle looked into the eyes of the woman who should have been her mother-in-law, seeing not compassion, but relief. At that moment, she understood that she was alone, completely alone. With her head held high and unshed tears shining in her eyes, Janelle Smith left the Plaza Hotel. As she walked through the bustling streets of New York, she made a silent promise to the baby growing inside her. A promise of love, of strength, and of a better future than the past she had just left behind. 5 years have passed since that fateful night at the Plaza Hotel. The morning sun filtered through the faded curtains of the small apartment in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. Janelle Smith, now 32, woke up to the familiar sound of hurried footsteps in the hallway. "Mom! Mommy! Wake up!" The excited voice of Marcus, her 4-year-old son, echoed through the apartment. Janelle opened her eyes, a smile forming on her lips. "I'm awake, my love. What's wrong?" Marcus jumped up in bed, his brown eyes shining with excitement. "Today's the day of the talent show at school. Remember?" "How could I forget?" Janelle laughed, sitting up and hugging her son. Marcus' curly hair tickled her chin, reminding her of Tyler. She quickly pushed the thought away. While preparing breakfast, Janelle watched Marcus practicing his music for the concert, her heart filled with pride and love. Despite the difficulties, she had managed to create a warm and loving home for her son. The apartment was small but cozy. The walls were decorated with drawings of Marcus and photos of the two of them. In one corner, an old piano that Janelle had bought at a thrift store took pride of place. It was on it that Marcus practiced every day, revealing a musical talent that she encouraged with all her heart. "Come on, darling. Time to get ready for school," Janelle called out, helping Marcus get dressed. On the way to school, they passed the community center where Janelle worked as an arts program coordinator. "Mom, can I come with you after school today?" Marcus asked, his eyes shining with anticipation. "Of course, my love. Today we're having a special painting class for the neighborhood children," Janelle replied, gently squeezing her son's hand. When they arrived at the school, Janelle knelt down so that she was at Marcus' height. "Remember, darling, it doesn't matter what happens at the talent show. The important thing is that you have fun and do your best." Marcus nodded, hugging her tightly before running into the school. Janelle watched him go, feeling a mixture of pride and apprehension. She knew she would soon have to face questions about Marcus. Father, questions she still didn't have the answers to. Back at the community center, Janelle immersed herself in her work. Over the years, she had become a respected figure in the community, using her passion for art to inspire and mentor young people. "Janelle, we have a meeting in 5 minutes to discuss the fundraising event," reminded her colleague, Rosalie. Janelle nodded, quickly organizing her papers. The community center was always struggling for funds, and she knew how important this event was. During the meeting, Janelle presented her idea, a big community talent show, with local artists and young people from the neighborhood. "We can show everyone the incredible talent we have here in Bed-Stuy," she argued passionately. Her colleagues enthusiastically agreed, and soon Janelle found herself immersed in the preparations. As she worked, she couldn't help thinking about how her life had changed. From a millionaire's fiancée to a single mother and community leader in Brooklyn, it wasn't the life she had planned, but it was a life she was proud of. In the afternoon, Marcus arrived at the center, excited to tell her about his day. "Mom, the teacher said I'm the best pianist in the class," he exclaimed, his eyes shining with pride. Janelle hugged him tightly, feeling a pang of sadness at the thought of Tyler. Did he know what an incredible son he had left behind? "I'm so proud of you, my love," she said, pushing aside thoughts of the past. "How about we play a bit together before painting class?" As mother and son sat at the old piano in the community center, their voices joining in a joyful song, Janelle felt a wave of gratitude. Despite all the difficulties, she had built a life full of purpose and love. Later that night, after putting Marcus to bed, Janelle allowed herself a moment of reflection. Looking out of the window at the lights of Brooklyn, She thought about Tyler and the luxurious life she had left behind. There were moments, especially in the early years, when she wondered if she had made the right choice. But then, the soft sound of Marcus breathing reached her ears, and she knew, with a certainty that came from the depths of her soul, that she wouldn't trade this life for anything in the world. With a contented sigh, Janelle got ready for bed, looking forward to the next day's talent show and all the possibilities that the future held for her and her son. In Bed-Stuy, far from the bright lights of Manhattan, she had found her true home. The shrill sound of the alarm clock cut through the silence of the luxurious apartment on Fifth Avenue. Tyler Grant, now 33, reached out to silence it, his blue eyes still heavy with sleep. The clock struck 5:30 in the morning, but for the young businessman, the day had already started late. As he got up, Tyler observed the spacious room around him. Expensive furniture, original works of art, and a panoramic view of Manhattan were silent witnesses to his success. But despite all the luxury, a feeling of emptiness haunted him. Tyler headed for the bathroom, avoiding looking at his reflection in the mirror for too long. The years had been generous with his appearance, but he couldn't ignore the worry lines that were beginning to form on his face. Success had its price, and he paid it every day. As he prepared for another day at the office, Tyler thought about how his life had changed over the last 5 years. After abandoning Janelle on that fateful night, he had plunged headlong into his work. His obsessive dedication had led him to become the youngest CEO in the history of Grant Enterprises, surpassing even his demanding father's expectations. "Mr. Grant, your coffee is ready," announced the voice of his personal assistant over the intercom. "Thank you, Olivia. I'll be down in a minute," Tyler replied, adjusting his Italian tie. In the immaculate kitchen, Tyler found not only his coffee but also a pile of newspapers and magazines. His face was on the cover of Forbes, under the headline "Wall Street's Prodigy: How Tyler Grant Revolutionized the Financial Market." He picked up the magazine, flipping through it absent-mindedly as he sipped his coffee. The words innovative, visionary, and relentless jumped off the pages, describing him as the new face of American success. Tyler should feel proud, fulfilled. So why did he only feel a growing emptiness? His phone vibrated, bringing him back to reality. It was a message from his father. "Congratulations on the Forbes cover, son. I knew you had potential. Don't forget the board meeting this afternoon." Tyler sighed. Not even a direct "I'm proud of you." But what did he expect? After all, he had been brought up to be a winner, to exceed expectations. Affection had never been part of the equation. Arriving at the office, Tyler was greeted by a wave of congratulations. Colleagues and subordinates crowded around to praise his latest triumph. He smiled and thanked them mechanically, feeling increasingly disconnected. "Mr. Grant, your schedule for today," said Olivia, handing him a detailed list of appointments. Tyler nodded, heading for his office. As soon as the door closed behind him, he let out a deep sigh. The glass walls offered a spectacular view of New York, a city he had conquered, but which somehow still made him feel like an outsider. The morning passed in a blur of meetings, phone calls, and multi-million-dollar decisions. Tyler navigated it all with the efficiency of a well-programmed automaton, but behind his confident facade, a restlessness was growing. During lunch, alone in his office, Tyler found himself staring at a locked drawer in his desk. With hesitation, he opened it, revealing an old photo. In it, a smiling Janelle was hugging him, both looking young and full of hope. It had been taken weeks before that night at the Plaza Hotel. Tyler touched the photo gently, feeling a wave of remorse wash over him. He had tried to bury the past, to convince himself that he had made the right choice. But at moments like this, doubt consumed him. "Mr. Grant?" Olivia's voice over the intercom startled him. "Your father is here for the board meeting." Tyler quickly put the photo away. "Thanks, Olivia. I'll be there in a moment." Adjusting his posture and recomposing his expression, Tyler prepared to face the board. As he walked to the meeting room, he couldn't help wondering, was all this success worth the price he had paid? The board meeting was tense, as usual. Tyler presented the company's latest results, which were impressive by any standards. But the cold, calculating stares around the table constantly reminded him that, in this world, you're only as good as your last quarter. At the end of the meeting, his father, Maxwell Grant, pulled him aside. Good work today, Tyler, but don't get complacent. The market is volatile, and we need to stay one step ahead. Tyler nodded, swallowing the need for approval he still felt. Yes, Dad, I'm always working on it. When he finally returned home that evening, the luxurious apartment seemed emptier than ever. Tyler poured himself an expensive whiskey, walking over to the window to look out over the city below. He had achieved everything he ever thought he wanted: success, wealth, recognition. But as the lights of New York flickered in the night, Tyler couldn't help but wonder if he had lost something much more valuable along the way. With a heavy sigh, he pulled his cell phone out of his pocket, hesitating for a moment before typing a name into the search engine. Janelle Smith. His finger hovered over the search button, trembling slightly. At that moment, Tyler Grant, the Wall Street prodigy, was facing the most difficult decision of his life: to continue living in the bubble of success he had created, or to finally face the past he had been trying to forget for so long. The auditorium of Bed-Stuy Primary School buzzed with the energy of dozens of eager children and proud parents. It was talent show night, and the air was full of anticipation. In the makeshift dressing room, Janelle was adjusting Marcus' bow tie, her heart bursting with love and pride. "Remember, my love," she said, kneeling down to meet her son's eyes, "no matter what happens out there, you're already a winner just by being here." Marcus nodded, his eyes shining with a mixture of nervousness and excitement. "I know, Mom. I'm going to play like we practiced." Janelle smiled, fighting back the tears that threatened to fall. Her son, so young and already so brave, reminded her as much of herself as of Tyler. It was in these moments that the absence of Marcus' father was most painfully present. Outside the auditorium, a luxury car parked discreetly. Tyler Grant got out, nervously adjusting his tie. He had spent the last few days gathering his courage for this moment, driven by a mixture of guilt, curiosity, and a deep desire for connection that he barely understood. Inside the auditorium, the show began. Children performed dances, songs, and short plays. The audience applauded enthusiastically, but Janelle could barely concentrate, her mind focused entirely on Marcus. Finally, it was his turn. "And now, Marcus Smith will play Beethoven's Claro de Luna on the piano," announced the director. A murmur of surprise ran through the audience. It was an ambitious piece for someone so young. Marcus walked confidently to the piano, his small fingers poised over the keys. At the back of the auditorium, Tyler froze. The name, Marcus Smith, echoed in his ears, bringing up a wave of emotions that he had tried to suppress for years. The first soft notes of Claro de Luna filled the air. Marcus played with surprising sensitivity for his age, his fingers dancing over the keys with grace and precision. The audience watched in reverent silence, enchanted by the young pianist's performance. Janelle, sitting in the front row, couldn't hold back her tears. Every note Marcus played was a testament to her love, her dedication, and the sacrifices she had made over the last few years. Tyler, still at the back, could feel his heart racing. The music transported him, reminding him of lost moments and choices he couldn't undo. He watched the boy at the piano, his son, with a mixture of pride and regret so intense that he could hardly breathe. As the song came to an end, the auditorium erupted in applause. Marcus stood up, bowing slightly, his face lit up with a radiant smile. Janelle rushed onto the stage, wrapping her son in a tight hug. "You were amazing, my love," she exclaimed, her voice breaking with emotion. Marcus smiled, his eyes shining with happiness. "I did it, Mom. I played without missing a note." While mother and son shared this moment of joy, Tyler remained motionless at the back of the auditorium. He wanted to get closer, to say something, to do anything to fill the void of the last few years. But fear paralyzed him. Slowly, people began to leave the auditorium. Janelle and Marcus came down from the stage, receiving warm greetings from teachers and other parents. Tyler watched them from afar, feeling like an intruder in a world to which he no longer belonged. It was then that their gazes met. Janelle saw him first, her eyes widening in recognition and shock. For a moment, time seemed to freeze. Their entire history, their love, their betrayal, the years of silence, hung in the air between them. Marcus, noticing the sudden change in his mother, looked in Tyler's direction. "Mom, who is that man?" Marcus. Innocent question broke the spell. Janelle, regaining her composure, held her son's hand protectively. "Nobody important, darling. Come on. We have to celebrate your wonderful performance." She began to guide Marcus towards the exit, but not before casting one last glance at Tyler. Her eyes conveyed a complex mixture of emotions: anger, hurt, and perhaps, well hidden, a spark of something else. Tyler stepped forward, opening his mouth to speak, but Janelle was already walking away, taking Marcus with her. He stood there, alone in the almost empty auditorium, the last notes of Claro de Luna still echoing in his mind. That evening, while Janelle and Marcus celebrated with a special dinner at home, Tyler returned to his luxurious apartment. Sitting in his study, he stared at the photo of Janelle he had kept for all these years. With trembling hands, he picked up his phone and typed a message. "Janelle, I know I have no right to ask this, but can we talk? Please. Tyler." He hesitated for a long moment before pressing send. The message hovered in the digital ether, carrying the weight of years of regret and the fragile hope of redemption. In Bed-Stuy, Janelle's phone vibrated with the notification. She stared at the screen, her heart racing at the sight of Tyler's name. For a moment, she considered ignoring the message, burying the past once again. But as she watched Marcus fall asleep, the last notes of his presentation still hanging in the air, Janelle knew she couldn't run away any longer. For her son, for herself, it was time to face the echoes of the past. With a deep sigh, she began typing her answer, uncertain of what the future held, but determined to face it head-on. Prospect Park was buzzing with life that Saturday afternoon. Families were picnicking, children were running around happily, and couples were walking hand in hand. In the middle of this idyllic scene, Janelle Smith was waiting, sitting on a bench overlooking the lake. Her fingers drummed nervously on her handbag, her eyes constantly scanning the area for a familiar face. Tyler Grant arrived punctually, his expensive suit contrasting with the casual atmosphere of the park. He hesitated for a moment before approaching, feeling the weight of 5 years' absence in every step. "Hello, Janelle," he said softly, his voice betraying a nervousness he rarely showed in business meetings. Janelle looked up, her eyes meeting Tyler's. For a moment, she was transported back to that night at the Plaza Hotel, the pain of rejection as fresh as it had been 5 years ago. "Tyler," she replied, her voice firm but cautious. "Sit down." He sat down, keeping a respectful distance. The silence between them was palpable, laden with unasked questions and ungiven explanations. You look great," Tyler finally said, breaking the silence. Janelle gave a wry smile. "We're not here to exchange compliments, Tyler. Why did you want to see me?" Tyler took a deep breath, gathering his courage. I wanted to apologize for what I did that night, for all these years. I know it's probably too late, but—" "Too late?" Janelle interrupted, her voice trembling with restrained emotion. "Tyler, you have no idea. You weren't there when I spent sleepless nights worrying about whether I'd be able to pay the rent and buy food. You weren't there when Marcus took his first steps, said his first words." Tyler lowered his head, guilt consuming him. "I know. I was a coward, Janelle. There's no excuse for what I did. No, there isn't, Janelle agreed, her voice softer now. But it's not just about me, Tyler, it's about Marcus, our son. The word our hung between them, loaded with meaning. He's amazing, Tyler said, a genuine smile appearing on his face. I saw him play in the talent show. He's got a gift. Janelle couldn't help but smile with pride. Yes, he does. He practices every day, you know. Even when I'm too tired to help him, he sits down at the piano and plays. For a moment, they shared a look of mutual understanding, united by their love for their son. Janelle, Tyler began, hesitantly, I know I don't have the right to ask this, but I'd like to meet him, to be a part of his life. Janelle closed her eyes, taking a deep breath. When she opened them again, there was determination in her gaze. Tyler, you can't just walk into his life as if nothing had happened. Marcus is 5 years old. He has questions, complex feelings about the father he never knew. Tyler nodded, swallowing. I understand. What do you suggest? Let's go slowly, Janelle replied. First, I want to make sure you're really committed to this. I can't risk Marcus getting attached to you only for you to disappear again. I promise, Janelle, I won't disappear. I want to be part of his life, of your lives, if you'll let me. Janelle studied him for a long moment, looking for signs of insincerity. All right, we can start with supervised meetings. Maybe once a week you can come and play with him in the park or help him with his piano lessons. Tyler agreed enthusiastically. Yes, of course. Whatever you think is best. As they discussed the details, a familiar figure approached them. David, Janelle's childhood friend and now a constant in her life, stopped by the bench. Jan, is everything all right? He asked, casting a suspicious glance at Tyler. Janelle stood up, smiling at David. Yes, everything's fine. David, this is Tyler, Marcus's father. Tyler, this is David, a very dear friend. The two men greeted each other with a tense handshake. Tyler couldn't help but notice the familiarity between Janelle and David, feeling a pang of jealousy that surprised him. Well, Janelle said, breaking the tension, I think we've sorted out what we need to for today. Tyler, I'll be in touch to arrange the first meeting with Marcus. Tyler nodded, reluctant to leave, but knowing it was necessary. Thank you, Janelle, for giving me this chance. As Tyler walked away, Janelle turned to David. Shall we? Marcus must be looking forward to going to the zoo. David smiled, putting a protective arm around Janelle's shoulders. Of course. Are you sure you're okay with all this? Janelle took one last look at Tyler's figure disappearing into the distance. I'm not sure about anything, David, but I know I need to do this. For Marcus. As they walked together to find Marcus, Janelle felt a mixture of apprehension and hope. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in years, she felt that maybe, just maybe, the wounds of the past could begin to heal. Tyler, for his part, returned to his apartment with a new determination. Looking out of the window at the city, he made a silent promise to himself, to Janelle and above all to Marcus. He would be the father his son deserved, no matter the cost. As night fell over New York, 3 lives intertwined by fate were preparing for a new chapter, full of challenges, but also possibilities for redemption and love. The Sunday sun bathed the Prospect Park playground in golden light. Tyler Grant, dressed casually in jeans and a polo shirt, a drastic change from his usual Italian suits, waited anxiously, his hands sweating slightly as he held a small wrapped package. In the distance, he spotted Janelle walking hand in hand with Marcus. Tyler's heart raced. This was the moment he had both dreaded and longed for, the first official meeting with his son. Janelle approached, her face a mask of calm, although her eyes revealed a mixture of caution and hope. Marcus, she said softly, do you remember what we talked about? This is Tyler. He's your father. Marcus looked at Tyler with curious eyes, a mixture of shyness and interest on his young face. "Hi," he said softly. Tyler knelt down to meet the boy's eyes, offering a gentle smile. "Hi, Marcus. It's nice to finally meet you." There was a moment of uncomfortable silence before Tyler remembered the package in his hands. I brought you something," he said, holding out the gift. Marcus looked at Janelle, who nodded encouragingly. Carefully, the boy opened the package, revealing a book of classical music scores for beginners. "Your mom told me you love playing the piano," Tyler explained. "I thought maybe we could play some of these songs together sometime." Marcus' eyes lit up. "You play the piano too?" Tyler nodded, feeling a momentary relief. "Yes, although I'm not as good as you. I heard you perform at the talent show. It was amazing." A small smile appeared on Marcus' face. "Thanks. Mom helps me practice every day." Janelle, watching the interaction, felt a twinge of emotion. It was strange to see Tyler and Marcus together, but there was also something right about it. "How about we go and play for a while?" she suggested, breaking the moment. The three of them headed for the swings. Tyler pushed Marcus gently, while Janelle watched closely. As the afternoon progressed, the initial tension began to dissipate. Marcus, with the resilience typical of children, was soon laughing and chatting animatedly with Tyler about his favorite songs and his dreams of becoming a great pianist. At one point, while Marcus was entertained on the slide, Tyler approached Janelle. "He's amazing," said Tyler, his voice full of admiration. "You've done a wonderful job, Janelle." Janelle smiled softly. "He's the light of my life. Every day he surprises me with his kindness and intelligence." Tyler hesitated before continuing. I know I can't make up for the lost years, but I want you to know that I'm committed to being part of his life now. For real." Janelle studied him for a moment. "Actions speak louder than words, Tyler, but I'm willing to give it a chance. For Marcus." As they talked, they didn't notice David approaching. He stopped a few meters away, observing the scene with a mixture of emotions on his face. Marcus was the first to notice him. "Uncle David," he shouted, running towards the newcomer. David hugged the boy, but his eyes were fixed on Tyler and Janelle. "Hey, champ," he said, forcing a smile. "I just stopped by to see how things were going." Tyler straightened up, sensing the tension in the air. Janelle, sensing the potential for conflict, quickly intervened. "David, good to see you," she said, her voice calm but firm. Tyler and Marcus were having their first day together. David nodded stiffly. "I see. Well, I don't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to make sure everything was okay." Tyler, sensing it was time to leave, turned to Marcus. "It was great spending the afternoon with you, Marcus. I hope we can do it again soon." Marcus smiled, hugging the sheet music book. "Thanks for the present. Will you help me play the songs?" "Of course," Tyler promised, feeling a surge of emotion. "Whenever you want." As Tyler said goodbye, David approached Janelle. "Are you sure this is a good idea?" he whispered. Janelle sighed. "I'm not sure about anything, David, but Marcus deserves the chance to meet his father." David nodded, although his eyes showed concern. "Just be careful, okay? I'm here if you need anything." As the sun began to set, the four figures in the park represented a complex picture of evolving emotions and relationships. Tyler left with a mixture of hope and determination, promising himself that he would do everything right this time. Janelle watched his departure with a whirlwind of conflicting emotions, while David remained by his side, a silent pillar of support. Marcus, oblivious to the adult complexities around him, hugged his new sheet music book, eager to practice and impress his newfound father. As the shadows lengthened in the park, each of them knew in their hearts that this was just the beginning of a journey that promised to be both challenging and life-changing. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in years, There was a spark of hope shining on the horizon for all of them. The weeks that followed brought a new routine to the lives of Tyler, Janelle, and Marcus. On Sundays, Tyler would show up punctually at the apartment in Bed-Stuy, carrying new sheet music or small gifts for Marcus. The sound of the piano filled the modest room, father and son side by side on the bench, their hands dancing over the keys in a growing harmony. Janelle watched these interactions with mixed emotions. Seeing the smile on Marcus' face when Tyler praised his progress warmed her heart, but it also brought up painful memories and unresolved fears. On a particularly sunny afternoon, while Marcus practiced alone, Janelle and Tyler chatted in the small kitchen. "He's progressing incredibly fast," Tyler commented, pride evident in his voice. Janelle nodded, a small smile on her lips. "He's a natural. Sometimes I wonder where it came from." Tyler hesitated before answering. Maybe it runs in the family. My grandmother was a pianist." The comment hung in the air, reminding them of the connection they shared, of the family stories Marcus had never known. "Janelle," Tyler began, his voice serious. "I was thinking, I'd like to take Marcus to spend a day with me. Maybe to the music museum or a children's concert." Janelle froze, her coffee cup stopping halfway to her lips. "I don't know, Tyler. It's a big step." "I know it is," he replied quickly, "but I feel like we're making good progress. Marcus seems comfortable with me now." Before Janelle could reply, the doorbell rang. David walked in, carrying shopping bags. "Hey, Jan, I brought those ingredients you asked for the—" He stopped when he saw Tyler. "Oh, sorry, I didn't know you had company." The tension in the room was palpable. Tyler stood up, his face a mask of forced politeness. "No problem. I was just leaving." Janelle, sensing the charged atmosphere, intervened. "David, you remember Tyler. He was helping Marcus with his piano lessons." David nodded stiffly. "Of course. How are you, Tyler?" "Fine, thanks," Tyler replied, his tone just as cold. Marcus, attracted by the sound of voices, entered the kitchen. "Uncle David!" he exclaimed, rushing to embrace the newcomer. David smiled, the tension in his face dissolving momentarily. "Hey, champ! How was your piano lesson?" "It was amazing," Marcus replied enthusiastically. "Dad taught me a new song today." The use of the word dad didn't go unnoticed by anyone in the room. David stiffened visibly, while Tyler couldn't contain a small smile. Feeling the need to relieve the tension, Janelle turned to Marcus. "Honey, why don't you show Uncle David the new song you've learned?" As Marcus pulled David into the living room, Janelle turned to Tyler. "I think we'd better continue this conversation another day," she said softly. Tyler nodded, understanding. As he prepared to leave, he cast one last glance into the living room, where Marcus was playing animatedly for David. The scene filled him with a mixture of jealousy and renewed determination. "Think about what I said, please," he asked Janelle before leaving. After Tyler left, Janelle joined David and Marcus in the living room. The boy continued to play, oblivious to the tension between the adults. "So," David began, his voice low, "things seem to be progressing with Tyler." Janelle sighed. "Yes, he's been consistent. Marcus really seems to like him." David hesitated before continuing. "Jan, you know I only want the best for both of you. But are you sure you can trust him, after everything?" Janelle looked at Marcus, her face lighting up as she played. "Honestly, I'm not sure of anything. But I see how Marcus lights up when Tyler is around. I can't deny him that." David nodded, although his eyes showed concern. "Just be careful, okay? I'm here if you need anything." As night fell over Brooklyn, Janelle found herself reflecting on the complexities of her situation. Tyler, with his newfound presence in Marcus' life, was bringing joy, but also uncertainty. David, a comforting constant, offered stability, but also reminded her of what could have been. At the center of it all was Marcus, innocent and full of potential, unconsciously navigating the turbulent waters of the emotions of the adults around him. That night, after putting Marcus to bed, Janelle lay awake, looking out of the window at the lights of Brooklyn. She knew that important decisions would have to be made soon. The harmony they were building was fragile, punctuated by dissonant notes of unresolved pasts and uncertain futures. But as she listened to Marcus, soft breathing in the next room, Janelle made a silent promise. No matter what the future held, she would do everything in her power to ensure that her son had the best life possible, full of love, music, and opportunities that she herself had never had. With this resolution in mind, she finally allowed herself to sleep, knowing that the days ahead would bring challenges, but also the possibility of a new and beautiful melody in their lives. Autumn in New York painted the trees in Central Park in shades of red and gold. Tyler and Marcus walked side by side, their hands occasionally brushing, but never actually touching. It was the first day they had spent together without Janelle's supervision, a concession she had made after weeks of deliberation. "So, what do you want to do first?" Tyler asked, trying to mask his nervousness with enthusiasm. Marcus looked around, his eyes sparkling with the possibilities. "Can we go to the zoo? Mom says there are penguins there." Tyler smiled, relieved to have a clear direction. "Sure, let's go see the penguins." As they walked towards the zoo, Tyler couldn't help but notice how much Marcus looked like him at the same age, the same curious eyes, the same confident walk. It was like looking into a mirror of the past, a past he had almost completely lost. At the zoo, Marcus pressed his face against the glass of the penguin habitat, fascinated by the clumsy birds on land, but graceful in the water. Tyler knelt beside him, sharing interesting facts about penguins that he had researched the night before, eager to impress. "Did you know that some penguins can dive more than 500 meters deep?" Tyler commented. Marcus looked at him, impressed. "Wow, that's deeper than our swimming pool at school." Tyler laughed, feeling a surge of affection. "Much deeper, that's for sure." As the day progressed, father and son explored the zoo, stopping for hot dogs and ice cream. Tyler watched Marcus' every reaction, memorizing his expressions, his tastes, trying to make up for lost years. In the late afternoon, sitting on a bench near the carousel, Tyler plucked up the courage to broach a subject he'd been thinking about for weeks. "Marcus," he began, hesitantly, "you know I live in a big apartment downtown, right?" Marcus nodded, licking the remains of ice cream off his fingers. "Well, I was thinking, maybe you'd like to spend a weekend there with me sometime. There's an extra room that we could decorate any way you like." Marcus stopped, his eyes widening. "Really, I can choose everything." Tyler smiled, relieved by the positive reaction. "Of course you can. We can paint the walls, choose furniture, whatever you want." "Even a piano?" Marcus asked, his voice full of hope. Tyler felt his heart squeeze. "Especially a piano." Marcus' face lit up, but then a shadow of concern crossed his eyes. "But what about Mom? Will she be alone?" The question took Tyler by surprise. He hadn't considered how Janelle would feel about the idea. "Well, we'd have to talk to her first, of course. But I'm sure she'd be happy to know that you're enjoying yourself." Marcus nodded slowly, processing the information. "Can I think about it?" "Sure, champ," Tyler replied, feeling a mixture of pride at Marcus' maturity and guilt for potentially complicating his life. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, Janelle was sitting in her apartment, staring at her phone. She had promised herself that she wouldn't call, that she would trust Tyler to look after Marcus for the day, but anxiety consumed her. David entered the room, carrying 2 cups of tea. "They haven't called yet?" Janelle shook her head. "No, and it's been hours." David sat down next to her, offering her a cup. "That's good, Jan. It means they're having fun." Janelle took a sip of her tea, letting the heat soothe her. "I know. It's hard. For years it was just me and Marcus against the world. And now you have to share," David added softly. Janelle nodded, feeling tears forming in her eyes. Is it selfish of me to want to keep Marcus all to myself? David put an arm around her, pulling her close. It's not selfish, Jan. It's natural. You're an incredible mother, and nothing will change that. They stayed like that for a moment, the silence punctuated only by the ticking of the clock on the wall. Finally, Janelle pulled away, wiping her eyes. Thank you, David. I don't know what I'd do without you. David smiled, but there was a hint of sadness in his eyes. I'm always here for both of you. You know that. The sound of the key in the door interrupted the moment. Marcus rushed in, his eyes shining with excitement. Mom! Mommy! We saw penguins and lions and monkeys and… Janelle hugged him tightly, breathing in her son's familiar scent, feeling relief flow through her. Tyler came in right behind her, looking tired but happy. Did he behave? Janelle asked, looking over Marcus and Head. Tyler nodded. He was perfect. We had an amazing day. David stood up, the tension evident in his posture. Well, I think it's time for me to go. Tyler noticed him for the first time, his smile faltering slightly. David, I didn't know you'd be here. I just stopped by to see how Janelle was doing, David replied, his voice neutral. The air in the room became charged, the complexities of adult relationships hanging over them. Marcus, oblivious to the tension, continued to talk animatedly about his day at the zoo. Janelle, feeling the need to diffuse the situation, turned to Tyler. Thanks for looking after him today. It sounds like it was a great day. Tyler smiled, grateful for the openness. It really was. Actually, there's something I'd like to discuss with you when you have a moment. Janelle nodded, knowing instinctively that an important conversation was coming up. Of course. Tomorrow. Perhaps. As night fell over Brooklyn, the four figures in the small room represented a microcosm of evolving emotions and relationships. Tyler, full of hope for the future. Janelle, torn between the desire to protect her son and the need to allow him to grow up. David, a silent pillar of support, struggling with his own unexpressed feelings. And at the center of it all, Marcus, innocent and full of joy, unaware of the emotional currents flowing around him. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Their lives were irrevocably intertwined, for better or worse, and the decisions they would make over the next few days would shape not only their own destinies, but also that of Marcus, the little boy who had unknowingly become the beating heart of this complex family symphony. Breakfast in Janelle's kitchen was tense. Tyler sat rigidly at the table, his hands wrapped around a cup of coffee that had already gone cold. Janelle was standing, leaning against the sink, her eyes fixed on the backyard where Marcus was playing, oblivious to the serious conversation going on inside the house. A room in your house? Janelle repeated, her voice a mixture of incredulity and apprehension. Tyler, that's a big step. Tyler nodded, aware of the weight of her proposal. I know, Janelle, but think of it as an opportunity for Marcus to have the best of both worlds. He could spend a few weekends with me, meet my family, have access to… To what? Janelle interrupted, her voice sharp. To money, luxury, the things you think we can't give him here? Tyler stepped back, realizing his mistake. No, it's not that. I just want to be part of his life. Really. Janelle sighed, running a hand through her hair. Tyler, I understand that you want to make up for lost time, but we can't just rearrange Marcus' life overnight. He has routines, friends, a life here in Brooklyn. And I want to be part of that life, Tyler insisted, but I also want him to know my world. It's not fair to keep him away from half his inheritance. The word inheritance hung in the air, loaded with meaning. Janelle felt a twinge of fear. She had always known that Tyler's wealth and status would eventually become a problem, but she hadn't expected it to be so soon. What about school? She asked. Your friends? Your piano lessons here in the neighborhood? Tyler hesitated. Well, I've been thinking. There are some excellent schools near my apartment, schools that could really nurture Marcus' musical talent. Janelle froze. Do you want him to change schools? Not right away, Tyler hastened to say. But in the future, maybe. Think of the opportunities he'd have, Janelle. Janelle turned away from the sink, anger growing inside her. Opportunities. Tyler, do you think we raised Marcus in a cultural desert? That he has no opportunities here? That's not what I meant, Tyler tried to explain. But Janelle interrupted him. No, Tyler. You can't just walk into his life after 5 years and decide you know what's best. Marcus has a life here. Friends, community, people who love him and looked after him when you weren't around. The mention of his absence hit Tyler like a punch. He stood up, trying to approach Janelle, but she held up a hand, keeping him at a distance. Janelle, please. I just want what's best for him. And you think I don't? Janelle retorted, tears of frustration forming in her eyes. I've dedicated my life to giving Marcus the best. Every decision I've made in the last 5 years has been with him in mind. The silence that followed was interrupted by the sound of the front door opening. David entered, stopping abruptly as he sensed the tension in the room. I'm sorry, I didn't know, he began, but Janelle interrupted him. No, David. Please stay. She turned to Tyler. I think we'd better continue this conversation another day, when we're both calmer. Tyler nodded stiffly, reaching for his jacket. As he passed David, the two men exchanged tense glances. Tyler knew that David was more than just a friend to Janelle and Marcus, and that bothered him deeply. After Tyler left, David approached Janelle. Is everything all right? Janelle shook her head, the tears finally falling. He wants Marcus to spend weekends at his apartment. He talked about changing schools, David, as if everything we've built here isn't enough. David hugged her, offering silent comfort. Oh, Jan, I'm so sorry. Outside, Marcus ran up to them, his face alight with the innocence of childhood. Mom, Uncle David, look what I found. He held up a small, shiny stone, probably nothing more than a piece of glass polished by time. But for Marcus, it was a treasure. Janelle knelt down, forcing a smile. It's beautiful, darling. A real treasure. Marcus, sensing the tense atmosphere, looked from Janelle to David. Mom, are you sad? Janelle hugged him tightly. No, my love. I'm just thinking, but it's okay. David joined in, forming a small circle of love and protection. At that moment, Janelle felt both grateful to have David in their lives and afraid of the uncertain future that lay ahead. Meanwhile, Tyler walked through the streets of Brooklyn, his mind a whirlwind of emotions. He knew he had made a mistake by pushing too hard, but he also felt a desperate urge to be part of Marcus' life. The fear of losing more time, of being replaced by David, consumed him. Picking up his phone, he dialed a familiar number. Dad, I need some advice. As the day progressed, the lives of everyone involved seemed to be at a turning point. Janelle, torn between the desire to protect her son and the need to allow him to meet his father. Tyler, struggling to find his place in Marcus. Life without destabilizing everything. David, a silent pillar of support, but also a complication in the delicate family balance. And at the center of it all, Marcus, a bright and talented boy, unaware of the emotional storms brewing around him, holding his little shiny stone as if it were the key to all the mysteries of the universe. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. The decisions made over the next few days would shape not only their individual lives, but the very fabric of their newly formed and fragile family. The auditorium of the Manhattan School of Music was packed, a sea of anxious and expectant faces. In the dressing room, Marcus, now 10, nervously adjusted his bow tie, his fingers drumming an invisible melody in the air. Janelle knelt in front of him, her eyes shining with pride and restrained emotion. Remember, my love, no matter what happens out there, you're already a winner just by being here. Marcus nodded, a small smile forming on his lips. I know, Mom. I'll play like we practiced. On the other side of the dressing room, Tyler watched the scene, feeling simultaneously part of it and an intruder. The last 5 years had been a roller coaster of emotions, negotiations, and compromises. It's time, announced the stagehand, breaking the moment. Marcus took a deep breath, looking from Janelle to Tyler. "You guys are going to be there, right?" "Front row," Tyler promised, placing a hand gently on his son's shoulder. Janelle nodded, swallowing the lump in her throat. Always. As Marcus was led backstage, Janelle and Tyler exchanged glances. 5 years of co-parenting hadn't always been easy, but moments like this reminded them both why all the challenges were worth it. In the audience, David was settling into his seat, a bouquet of flowers in his hands. Next to him, Tyler's parents, Evelyn and Maxwell Grant, sat stiffly, clearly uncomfortable with the less formal setting than they were used to. The presenter took to the stage. "Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure that we present the next contestant in our Young Talent competition, Marcus Smith Grant, performing his original composition, Echoes of the Past." A murmur of surprise ran through the audience. Original composition? For someone so young? Marcus entered the stage, his steps firm despite the nervousness evident in his eyes. He sat down at the piano, closed his eyes for a moment, and then began to play. The first notes were soft, hesitant, like the first rays of sunlight on a cloudy morning. Gradually, the melody gained strength, interweaving complex themes that seemed to tell a story of loss, redemption, and hope. In the audience, Janelle felt silent tears running down her cheeks. She recognized in that song echoes of her own struggles, of the lonely nights when she had doubted her choices. Tyler, sitting next to her, was rigid in his seat, his eyes fixed on Marcus. Each note seemed to pierce the layers of guilt and regret he carried, reminding him of the lost years and the journey to regain them. David, a few rows back, held the flowers tightly, his heart breaking and mending with each chord. He had been a constant in Marcus and Janelle's lives, a pillar of support in difficult times. Now, listening to Marcus' music, he wondered what his role would be in the future of this family. As the composition reached its climax, the audience was completely involved. Marcus' music spoke of a maturity and understanding far beyond his years, touching something deep and universal in every listener. The last notes sounded soft and hopeful, leaving a reverent silence in the auditorium. For a moment, no one moved, as if they were afraid of breaking the spell. Then, like a wave, the audience rose to their feet in a thunderous ovation. Marcus, his eyes shining with emotion, bowed slightly before running into Janelle and Tyler's open arms. Backstage, embracing, the three of them formed a picture of reconciliation and possibilities. Janelle, looking at Tyler over Marcus' head, saw not the man who had abandoned her years ago, but a devoted father who had fought to be part of his son's life. Tyler, for his part, looked at Janelle with a mixture of gratitude and admiration. She had been the constant force in Marcus' life, shaping him into the incredible young man he had become. "Did you hear?" Marcus asked, his voice quivering with excitement. "I played it without missing a note." "We heard it, my love," Janelle replied, her voice breaking. "It was perfect." Tyler agreed, unable to contain his pride. "You surprised us, champ. That song, where did it come from?" Marcus shrugged, a shy smile on his face. "I don't know. I guess it came from all of us." At that moment, David approached, offering Marcus the bouquet. "Congratulations, kid. You've done well." The scene could have been uncomfortable, but there was a silent understanding between the adults. Each of them had played a crucial role in Marcus' journey, and there was no room for jealousy or resentment in this moment of triumph. As the evening progressed, with celebrations and congratulations, it became clear that something fundamental had changed. Marcus' music wasn't just a composition, it was a statement, a testimony to the journey they had all been on together. Later, while Marcus slept exhausted but happy, Janelle, Tyler, and David met on the small balcony of their Brooklyn apartment. "He's really amazing," David commented, breaking the silence. Janelle nodded, a soft smile on her lips. "He is, and it's thanks to all of us." Tyler looked at them both, feeling a wave of gratitude. "Thank you," he said simply. "For not giving up. For giving me a second chance." David reached out, offering Tyler a handshake. Family isn't always about blood. It's about who stands by you, no matter what. As the New York night glowed around them, the three adults shared a moment of mutual understanding. The future was still uncertain, full of challenges and possibilities, but one thing was clear. Together, they had created something beautiful and lasting. The symphony of their lives was far from over. In fact, with Marcus as its young conductor, it was only just beginning to take shape. And while the stars shone brightly over Brooklyn, the promise of new movements, new themes, and unexplored harmonies hung in the air, waiting to be discovered. If you were in Janelle's shoes, would you be able to forgive Tyler and allow him to be part of Marcus' life? Why would you? Leave your opinion in the comments. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the story, please subscribe to our channel and leave a comment below letting us know what you thought. Your feedback and support mean a lot to us. Stay tuned for more exciting stories.